Yes, dude, that's what I'm talking about, dude. We are so glad that you're here, Wes. Thank you for joining. Whoa, that's my bad. So we got hot, man. We're hot. This is what's so awesome. I know you don't know who Wes is, but what we put in that video, there is a lot of truth to, all right? You are the most interesting man in the world. By the time we get finished, I think they will really believe me.
You think they'll believe that?
I hope so. I hope so. But let me give you a little bit of reason why. This is a U.S. veteran right here, served in the Army. Come on, that's all right. And he served as a linguist, which I don't even really know what that, I didn't know what that meant until I looked it up. He speaks 8 languages, y'all. I barely speak 1. Y'all know that, all right? Come on, 8 languages. Tell us a little bit about that. That's crazy.
And now redneck.
Yeah, 9, yeah. That's exactly right. We're going to have 9. You can add that from here on, right?
Well, you know, it started off when I was really young. Every day in my village in Africa, we spoke 4 languages. 2 African languages, French and English.
Wow.
I think the one you're referring to with the Army is I was a linguist in the Army, a Czechoslovakian linguist. I didn't even know that was a language when I got drafted.
Right.
But basically our job was to learn Czech well enough that we could pass as native Czechs in Prague. We learned all the dirty jokes, we learned all the dancing, learned how to drink without actually swallowing.
Really?
So that we could go in there when a resistance fighter, a Czech resistance fighter, was about to get captured by the Russians. And we would sneak down through the Alps into his little town. We would get him drunk or whatever we had to do. We would take him out, hike him back through the Alps, and resettle him in the West.
Dude, he's a spy, y'all. Do y'all understand that? That's James Bond, y'all. I'm trying to tell you. Dude, it really is crazy.
Well, yeah, military intelligence is top secret because if most of us knew what was going on, we wouldn't support it.
Right, yeah.
And that's all I can tell you because otherwise I would have to kill you.
Yeah, I'd rather live, all right? I don't want to die.
All right, we'll leave it right there.
Here's what's crazy, too. You not only served in the Army, and that was, again, amazing. Again, 8 languages trips me out, but then invited to the White House as well. Give us a little bit on your White House invitation. It's pretty cool.
Yep, I was invited to a state dinner, first tuxedo I've rented since high school prom.
Right.
For the president of Ghana.
Wow.
And so here were all these muckety-mucks. My great thrill was I got to meet a sponsor there.
Wow.
Turns out that George H.W. Bush was a Compassion sponsor.
Wow.
He was at a concert one time and they were passing out packets and surrounded by all of his security people, he put up his hand like, I want one.
Wow.
So they got one. So because he sponsored a little boy in the Philippines and that little boy could so easily have been kidnapped if people knew that he was sponsored by the president.
That'd be problematic.
So as Compassion's president, I had to insist the correspondence came through my office to kind of screen it in both directions. And we told President Bush, now listen, you cannot let people know who you are. This little boy cannot know that his sponsor. So he says, okay, I understand all that, but what a sweet man. He kept dropping little hints. Like once he wrote a letter and he put a picture of his dog, Millie. And he wrote, this is Millie, my dog. She has met many famous people. And I'm like, come on, Prez.
Right, you're right.
And then when his son became president, I remember one year he wrote, we're going to have Christmas with my son this year. He lives in a big white house. And I'm like, stop it.
That's pretty awesome, though. I mean, just to think about that, because this guy really has met a lot of different people. But one of my favorites, and I pulled a picture, I couldn't believe I had to scour literally to find it. But how about Bono, right, man?
Bono,
this is pretty cool.
yeah.
A little U2 love. And unbelievable, there's a lot to that because he's trying to make a big difference in the world. You obviously trying to make a big difference in the world, but I believe he called you his hero as well. Let's talk about that.
Well, he flipped the tables on me because I know, this guy's a billionaire.
Right.
And I said, I know that you have figured out how the world works. I know that you've got all the money in the world, and yet you have a heart for the poor. I am overwhelmed that you would use your influence and your resources for the poor. You're my hero. And he interrupted me. He says, no, I'm a part-time hero.
Wow.
You, sir, are the full-time hero. This is what I look like trying to convince him to sponsor a Compassion child. This is slightly the dubious look on his face.
Right.
And I suggested it's not that much money. You could sell this earring and probably do that, Bono.
Well, and he does. He makes a huge difference, but at the same time it's a whole, it's a whole nother deal to go in individual when you think, hey, it's not just a big organization. It gets very specific as to an individual.
And he doesn't have to do that. What amazes me is he does that out of the goodness of his heart and his love for the Lord.
That's pretty awesome, man.
Pretty
Come
cool
on.
guy,
Dude,
actually.
he's running with, he's a spy. He runs with Bono at the White House. Unbelievable, crazy. But you've also met very, very famous people. Probably the most famous people you've met. I have a picture of these two people right here. This is, I believe it's Daniel, Nelson, and me. Yeah, there we are. If you're wanting to know how we know each other, this was actually on a pheasant hunt in South Dakota. We were out there having a good time with some friends from Nashville. And yes, that's right. This next picture is where I got to meet Wes. And we sit around the campfire at night, man. And dude, this guy has more stories. Every hour's come out and they're like, yeah, I could have just sat and listened to him for hours. I was like, I'm trying to be sensitive to your time, but I could too, because he really does have unbelievable stories, but also unbelievable talent in that he broke out his slingshot. Now, this is a picture. We're out there, shooting guns and having a lot of fun. And he goes, man, have y'all seen my slingshot? So we're like, no, what do? He picks a rock up, starts, swirling around, man, throws it out there. So I thought, you know what? Does anybody in here want to see that talent? Come on, give us some love, Louisiana. So the good news is you're not going to be hit with rocks today, but you are going to get a marshmallow, all right? Anybody hungry, all right? There you go. So this is pretty crazy because we'll talk about how you learn this talent, but this is a legitimate slingshot that, again, from his childhood, he carries around with him. But I want to know if you're ready, because if you're ready, he's already hit a couple of people a couple other hours. So raise your hand if you want to get hit, right?
This area right in here tends to be fairly dangerous.
Oh, look, they're lighting them up for you now, Wes.
Even easier.
Yeah, that makes it even easier.
This is what we used to do to keep the baboons out of our cornfield at harvest time. Even little 5- and 6-year-old boys, we would stand watch all night with these things. And the baboons, when I say baboon, it's like the picture at the beginning.
Right. Yeah.
These are not cute little monkeys. These are big they were bigger than we were, and they had fangs on them like a German shepherd. So we would stand watch all night long.
Oh, you better be ready back there, y'all. You better get your head
I'm
up,
going
son.
for that
Wake up,
red
redneck.
light candle right
Here
there.
it comes, marshmallow in the grill. Hold on. Yeah, come on, give it up for him one time, y'all. Hey, where are you gonna see a marshmallow hit?
Bring that to our table and I'll autograph a book. I owe you an eye.
That's the least you could do, right?
That's the least I could do.
Hey, now seriously, this is what's crazy. You as a child, now when you talk about people and their experiences, the most interesting man in the world, it's not just the people you've met, not the jobs you've had, but where you lived as a child. You really did grow up in Africa. We have some pictures again of just your childhood, because how many years and what's the story there?
I moved to Africa when I was a little younger than that. I was about 4 years old. My mom and dad grew up in Denver in a missionary church. Mom's prayer all her life was, Lord, please don't call me to be a missionary. And if a missionary, please not Africa. And the dear lady got both. Be careful what you pray for.
Yeah, and that's
so I got born into this family, Ken and Marge Stafford, and we were assigned not just Africa, but the hottest, nastiest, dustiest outpost on the Sahara Desert. 120 degrees was a typical day. We had no electricity. We had, my mom used to say, I have at least one luxury. I have running water. Wes, run and get some water. And I'd be back and forth with a bucket between my little knees.
Wow.
And that was where most of my childhood was spent, in a little poverty-stricken African village.
Wow.
That just took me in as their son.
You know, it's crazy. There's a picture of you actually reading to the village, because this was one of the things your dad, he actually translated some of the language or whatever. Give us a little bit on that.
Yep, that's my father off on the left there. He took the Senefu language of the Ivory Coast, put it into writing, and then spent a lot of his time translating scriptures in a hot tin shed. But I, at age 7, was teaching Africans how to read their own language. I could barely read, but I could read better than anybody for 100 miles in any direction. So I was teaching this group how to read words that my father had translated from the scriptures.
I mean, you know what's crazy? And you have the stories of talking about how literally you were the only white person that they had seen for miles. Give us a little bit on growing up, really, as, again.
Well, the nearest other white children were at the hospital, which was 100 miles away. And so I just grew up one of the village boys. They taught me what they taught their children. I was a typical missionary, slingshot around my neck, barefoot, sick often, nearly died about 6 times as a little boy. I'll tell you one of the times I nearly died, because you can join me in this. I was nearly killed by army ants.
Holy cow.
These guys would come in a stream 4 feet wide and several miles long. They would work their way across the savannah. We kept our bedposts in cans of kerosene to keep them from coming up on our bed. But one night they came in at the dead of night when I had kicked my sheet off. They came all the way up onto my body. I didn't feel them until one went across my cheek. Bang, that's what I did. I smacked that thing thinking it was a mosquito. And that was apparently some signal that they should all bite at once.
You are kidding.
Chomp, hundreds of them. And they don't just bite, they inject poison, so I swelled up like the Michelin Man. The whole village gathered around my little cot to pray that the little white guy didn't die. We pulled him off with tweezers one by one, and I nearly didn't. So here's what I do. Whenever I see an ant, I step on them. And if you want to join me in this cause, step on every ant you see. It'll take me a lifetime to get even with those guys. I'll go all the way across the street if I think there might be an ant over on that side.
I don't blame you. We have them, man.
You got to have a cause.
Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of that, that's what's so crazy is being a minority in the middle of an African village. You also had an interesting prayer, though. What was your prayer at night?
Well, you know, they loved me. I was their son. The whole village thought I was their son. So they took care of me. They taught me their values. I never fell down without some African woman, you know, swooping in, drying my tears. But I didn't get away with a whole lot of mischief, because I had hundreds of people who thought I was their son. But I kind of stood out, you know, with all this. So I remember the chief one time, we all gathered around the campfire in the evening, every evening, played drums and talked. And so the chief said, you know, the goats are a little skinny this year, and it's not because we're in a drought. It's because the little village boys are chasing them all around the village.
Right.
And I remember him saying, and in the swirling red sand dust, I don't know who all the culprits are, but I know this. That little white boy, he's one of them. So my prayer every night was, dear Lord, and I know you can do this. You brought down the walls of Jericho. You parted the Red Sea. In the morning, when I wake up, let my skin be black like all my friends. And that would be the first thing I'd check every morning. Still white. But maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, but maybe tomorrow.
There's always hope.
This is what's so awesome about Wess is he has statements, and there's a lot of quotes. If you go online, you look up Wess Stafford, there's quote after quote after quote, because what he says, really funny, has a good time, but there's some powerful statements, and this is one of them. Everything I really need to know, and this is a great quote, to lead a national organization, I learned from the poor, growing up in an African village. He is the leader of a large company. I mean, he's retired now, but for 20 plus years, president of Compassion, was in Compassion for 40 years. But to say something like this, there's power in that. Give me the reason why. And what did you mean that you learned everything to lead a company, a large company, from an African village?
Yeah, I was there till I was 15 years old. You know, the things that really matter, I mean, there's all kinds of leadership techniques, but the things that really matter are character and values and spirit.
Right.
And it was the poor in this little village who taught me the things that really matter, like love. I learned from the poor that no matter how poor you are, you can still have love. And the more of it you give away, the more of it you get. So I tried to run a worldwide loving organization. Wow. They taught me that joy is not dictated by circumstances. Joy is the decision you make in spite of the hardship of circumstances, sometimes a very, very brave decision.
Right.
I learned that hope is not dictated by circumstances. We tend to be hopeful when we have more assets than liabilities. It's always the other way around for the poor. But their hope is in one another, in the community, and in God when they take that road. Yeah. I learned from them time. Never wore a watch till I was 15. The sun is all we needed for meetings. Wow. We got a clock clicking right here. Just the sun.
Right.
And, the meeting started here, was supposed to end here, but it's okay. If good things were going on, let the sun go down.
Right.
I learned from them how to give and how to receive. The worst thing you could be in my village was selfish. To withhold from your brother in his time of need was unacceptable behavior. I learned if God made you strong, and as we got older, we got stronger. By the time I was 15 years old, I was a fully trained peasant farmer who could have raised his family on the Sahara Desert. But when we got strong as young men, we were taught it's not about you, it's not for you, it's for you to be there for those who are weak. And there were a lot of reasons to be frightened. If God made you courageous, it's not for you, it's for you to be there for those who are frightened. And I took those skills that were, and that spirit that was given to me as a gift from the poor, and used it to lead a worldwide organization with that same spirit. When I think of the poor, I don't even subtly think downward toward the poor. I think upward.
Wow.
And I tell our staff around the world, when you're around the poor, you need to earn the right to be there. And God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, and you should be using them in about that proportion. Twice as much listening as talking.
This is why I love Wess so much. Symbol Church, we're trying to impact the world. We're trying to be a light in the darkness. You're trying to find ways to, again, give back. And when I sat with Wess out at these campfires and talking and hearing stories, it's just, you see it now, and everybody that has been around him now goes, I get it, I know why. But you really do have a passion for people, but particularly for children. And when you think about compassion, now listen to this, y'all. You want to make an impact with your life, you want to have something positive. Nearly 2 million children are taken care of in the world, and a lot of that is due to Wess Stafford. Does that deserve a round of applause? Or what, 2 million children?
That deserves a round of applause headed that direction.
Yes. But the reason I say that is it started for you at a young age, but one of the things, I guess the stories, and I got to do it because even though it'll be a little longer, but as a 7-year-old, an experience that happened in Africa that helped you to understand the value of life and of a child. Give us that story, and then we'll switch gears.
Okay. First of all, you have to understand that children are the poorest of the poor. Everything that goes wrong in any society spirals downward, and children pay the greatest price, including all aspects of poverty. So we, and I'll fast forward, by the time I was 15 years old and came to America finally to live, half of all my childhood friends had died of starvation, of measles, of diseases that we have vaccines and medicines for. But we also had snakes. We had vipers about the size of a pencil that you have to remember the hospital was 100 miles away. That took all day to drive that far.
Wow.
And these things could kill you in 30 minutes. So one of the earliest memories I have as a little guy is about 7 years old. I've written a book, Just a Minute, where I make the point that sometimes individual minutes can define who you are and what you do. And this was one of those minutes that defined me. We were out hunting with slingshots like this, and away from the village. When I was 7 years old, there were about 4 other little guys with me, the youngest 5 years old, when all of a sudden he shouted out in pain, and he had been bitten by one of these pencil vipers. And we knew how serious it was. The first thing we did was kill that snake 1,000,000 times
See, this
over.
is my kind of man. He hates snakes too. You know what I'm saying?
I hate snakes. Step on ants, kill snakes.
Yeah, we're good.
So we thought very quickly, can somebody run back to the village? We could see it in the horizon, and get his parents and bring them back, but we knew we didn't have 30 minutes. It was too far.
Right.
So we tried to make a litter. We tried to carry him, and we got a few yards, and we realized we're too weak to do that. So at age 7, the horror struck us. We've got to usher this little boy out of life ourselves. So we sat down. Being 7, I was the oldest, and everybody knew it was my responsibility. That's how we were structured. So I took this little 5-year-old in my arms, and I held him. And what do? We thought, well, let's comfort him. Let's sing all of our favorite Sunday school songs. Jesus Loves Me, This I Know. Only a Boy Named David was one of our favorite songs.
Wow.
And they're slinging round and round. And and his arm began to swell. We could see the skin now beginning to crack. It looked like a lightning bolt going down his arm. He was crying, we were crying. I prayed the most fervent prayer of my life. I said, Lord, do you really need another one of my friends? Please don't take him. Then I remembered heaven, and I said to him, you know, very soon, you're not going to be here with us anymore. You're going to be in heaven. It will not hurt anymore. In just a few minutes, heaven, there is no pain. There is no sorrow. There is no sickness. There's not even any tears. You won't even be crying anymore. And then I said, so go ahead. Go on to heaven. Scout out heaven for us. You be the guy that goes in front of us. We want to know what kind of animals, where are they? Because we are coming right behind you. And we all promised him, none of us are going to try to live very long. If you look over your shoulder in heaven, you're going to see us coming. And just at that point, his head rolled off to the side, and he went from my young, skinny little arms into the arms of his heavenly Father. And simple, I can tell you this, when that happens to you and you are 7 years old, you do not have a choice what you do with your life, what kind of a person you become, what your values are, what your cause is. My cause is to fight poverty that steals children before they're grown, before they have a chance.
Amen. This is, you know, we were joking a little bit earlier. It's kind of a weird joke, but I said, well, Wes, you really didn't keep your promise, because I thank God you didn't. He's an older gentleman now. You know what I'm saying? That his buddy's like, where are you, Wes? Come on, right?
You should be here by now.
Yeah. And why I'm thankful that God has not called you home is because he has used you in an amazing way. His heart, many people call him Papa Wess. I'll put up some pictures of him and children. And the reason I say that is because whether they're children that he's come in contact with or employees in the company, his heart for kids, his heart for people is something that's undeniable. And now, again, 40 years of working with Compassion, 20 years of being the president, millions of kids sponsored. There's also a statement that you say, and this is another quote that I love. It says, if we nurture the dreams of children, the world will be blessed. If we destroy them, the world is doomed. That just says everything about sponsorship. It's like, no, it's a way to invest in that child in poverty, and no matter what country they may be in, 26 different countries around the world, but it is to show them their value. Tell us a little bit about that statement.
Yeah, well, I know poverty, and I know what it does. It's the worst thing about poverty is not hygiene, sanitation, housing. Those are the symptoms of poverty. Those are the things that hang around in poverty. But the worst thing about poverty is what it does to the heart of a little child. It kills dreams. And what it says to a little child is, give up. Nobody cares, nobody's coming to your rescue, nothing will ever change. Just give up. And after 40 years of working in Compassion, I have seen in the eyes of even little 3- and 4-year-olds, they believe that lie. Right. And you can see the sparkle is gone, the twinkle of the being made in the image of God, the dignity of God is stolen from them, and they give up before they even start. And what we try to do at Compassion is get in there with that little local church, surround that individual child, and somebody all the way across the world, like in Shreveport, who joins all of us to say, don't give up your dreams, sweetheart. You can do this. Don't give up. We're all watching you grow. We're all praying for you. Come on, be all that you can be. That's the heart and soul of what we do.
And you're probably sitting there wondering, like, does it matter? You know, I mean, does it really have an impact? And this is why I pulled a video. This is some of the people who are sitting in the audience even today. I saw some of them this morning just a little while ago. They sponsor kids, and you're wanting to know, you know, what does it do? How does it have an impact? Well, here are some of the people in this church. This is last time we were in Haiti. We shot this little video because when they got to meet their child, this is some of the video from some of the first times. You understand really what a difference it makes. Watch this.
Oh, yeah.
Sponsoring a kid, you just don't realize what it means when you're living in the United States. You've got your air conditioning, you've got your hot water, you just live in your life and you pay your money each month. But when you walk into this environment and you see how your child is living and that the money that you pay each month allows them to go to school And it just touches you in a way that I can't even describe. Obviously, I can't even really talk. I guess it's emotional because I have two beautiful, healthy children that we don't have to worry about providing for them. And these children, they don't know when they wake up in the morning if they're going to have running water, drinking water. They don't know if they're going to get to eat that day. And so being able to see my money in action.
The money thing for me, being in college, it's pretty tight, yes. But now being here, I wish that I could give everything that I have to these kids. And the fact that I want to sponsor every one of these kids now, and I can't on my own. Yeah.
To know that I'm making a difference in his schooling, his medical, his clothing, his food, it has just made me realize how much we take for granted at home. I was always afraid to get involved and to help, but now being a part of it, just the bare minimal will help these people, and it will make life changes around the world.
Come on, y'all, give it up for some of you in this room, man. Pretty awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
There are about 500 of you that already sponsor kids. We have a gift for you. If you go to the Do Good tent, man, please. It is just a way to say thank you. And then we want you to know that it does make a difference. And then Wes, anybody who chooses to sponsor today, he has a gift for you as well as one of his books. And it is an awesome book. It's called Just a Minute. So when you go out there, you can pick that up as well. But let me just say again why we do this. Everybody always thinks, you know, it's like, oh, here's the sale, here's the big push. Let me make sure you understand something. Simple Church has been in existence for 11 years. We've never, ever, ever, this trips people out, Wes, passed a chicken bucket, an offering plate of any kind. We've never passed the little gold on the little felt bag, ever. The only time I talk about money is if we give 100% of it away. When we talk about partnering with sponsorship, Wes did not charge a thing to come here. Compassion has not charged a thing. The only reason that they come in is because their passion is our passion, to make sure the world is better as a result of what Christ has done in our life, to give an opportunity to serve. And compassion is just an opportunity. It's your opportunity. We're partnering with them because they have about 340 kids in Honduras that need to be sponsored. And when I heard that, I was like, come on in. Wes, would you come in and speak, tell your stories, bring everything in, because our people might just be able to knock that out. I don't know, maybe you will, maybe you won't. But my prayer is that against the odds, really and truly will become real for you. Just like we said in this series, God loves the underdog. He always sees the forgotten, the broken, the overlooked. And our opportunity to help someone overcome the odds is as simple as picking up a packet and say, man, I want my office or my life group or me and my wife or my family to sponsor a child, because it really does make a difference. One quick story I didn't tell in any other hour, and this is Wes, this tripped me out. I did a little research before you got here, and I thought about 340, could we do it? It seems like a lot, and I don't even know if it's possible. But a group of students, millennials, all the millennial jokes. Where are my millennials at? Come on, let me hear you one time. Yeah, y'all are scared, but I'm for you. Let me tell you why.
Millennials don't clap like that.
Yeah. Let me tell you why, millennials. At the last conference, Passion Conference over in Atlanta, the millennials sponsored, I want to make sure I get this exactly right, 7,000 kids in one weekend.
Yeah.
Listen to me. The millennials wiped out the needs in 4 countries in one conference. So the reason I say that, millennials, we pick and have a good time with you, but let me tell you something. You get it.
Yep.
Older, skeptical, cynical. I don't know if it really makes a difference. And that's why when we go to Honduras, we drill these water wells, 11 water wells or so in the last few years. That's why our sponsorship with Compassion is specific to Honduras, so that when we go drill a water well, I'll say, come see what you're doing.
Yep. Come
see the impact. Don't judge somebody. Understand that Wes is as genuine and as real and as compassionate about it, and you can be too. We'll never be Wes, but you can be Wes for one kid. You can have an impact on somebody's life. Wes says this, it's another great, again, quote, every child you encounter is a divine appointment. Every child you encounter is a divine appointment. Give me a little on that, Wes, and then they'll be getting ready to get out of here in a minute. But tell me a little bit about this.
Well, you know, the spirit of a child is a lot like wet cement. It doesn't take any pressure, any effort at all, any time at all to leave an impression. And you know that. Every one of you sitting here are probably here because somebody took a minute back when the cement of your soul was moist and they said, my, but you're smart, my, but you're kind, my, but you have a beautiful voice, and you have built your life off of that minute. That's what that just a minute is about. All the way across the world, though, I've watched for 40 years at Compassion. That minute can be a sentence. It can be a letter from you, a sentence in a letter that says to a child, just don't give up. You can do this. We're believing in you. Do I have time to tell it?
Yeah.
So here's an example for those of you. If you could do this, you should be a sponsor. This little guy was sponsored in Kenya years ago, and he started off at the end of the spectrum where he was like, I don't matter, I don't know very much, I'm not very smart. And he was given a school teacher in England as his sponsor. So he wrote in his first letter, you can see from the picture of me that they sent that I'm not very handsome. And she wrote back, she says, oh, no, I've got your picture on my desk. I think you're a very handsome little boy. And he said, well, okay. And a few months later, he writes, well, now you see from the report card, I'm not very smart. This was a little hard on a teacher, as you can imagine, but she wrote back and said, you know what? You're as smart as you need to be whatever God wants you to be. Just do your best. So he begins to say, man, there's somebody in England believing in me. What can I do? And finally, he writes to her, he's 8 years old, he writes, I just learned that I'm the fastest runner in my classroom. There's 20 of us, and I won the blue ribbon. And she, being a good sponsor, wrote back and said, wow, it sounds like you found something you're good at. It sounds like you can run, so run. A few years later, he writes back and he says, well, guess what now? I run faster than anybody in my school. And she says, wow, you have nailed something. Keep running. It sounds like you're good at this. So he runs to the store, he runs to church, he runs to the school, and a few years later he writes back now and he says, well, guess what now? I run faster than almost anybody in Kenya. I'm on the Olympic team. I'm a marathon runner.
Wow, man.
Pretty
Cool.
So the Olympics were in Korea that year. And he won a medal, and they thought, let's route him by way of England back to Kenya so that he can meet his sponsor face to face. And so this big, tall Kenya marathoner, you know, he comes to her little cottage. She's now retired. He comes to her cottage. He can't even get inside. He has to stoop to get in her door. And he stands up to his full height, and here's this little lady, retired school teacher, now in a wheelchair. And he holds up his Olympic medal, and he says, this is for you. And she said, oh, no. She says, I watched you run this time. I saw you on television. I am so proud of you. I'm just so proud of you. And he said, stop. He said, if you hadn't believed in me when I was 8 years old and told me to run, I never would have run. This is your victory. And oh, Simple, I wish I could tell you. Yeah. Oh. I just wish I could tell you that every child on the tables out there waiting for a sponsor was knit by God Almighty to be an Olympian. I don't know, we would have a holy stampede to the table. I want the marathoner. They aren't, I can tell you that right now, but I can tell you they were all knit by God in their mama's womb with skills and heart and talent and spirit to be a blessing in the world today. And all they need is the chance that their little local church and you across the world can bring into their life.
Now you know why I love him, don't you? Come on, y'all. Give it up for Wes, dude. Awesome. It's just that chance to encounter. Let me give you a picture. This is Ronaldson and me. Well, the last time I was in Haiti, this is a little picture. The reason I want you to see this is because right now, your kids are up in their little classes, and they're writing letters to kids in Haiti through 410, Africa New Life, over in Africa, and Compassion, the ones that we're going to sponsor in Honduras, to remind little boys like this of their value. But what I want you to know is what I told Ronaldson is when I ran into him the first time we were in Haiti, he had his water jug was an old oil can. That's what he was drinking out of. And I said, man, we can solve that problem. We can't solve everything, but we can figure that out. And I came back and told our kids, and your kids raised money through their SK summer program to buy water bottles for all their kids, and then we got to deliver them. But here's what I want you to know. When I got to Ronaldson and I handed him that water bottle, he was so excited, he lit up, and I said, but Ronaldson, what I want you to know is that every kid in your village and throughout this whole region is getting a water bottle because of you. Not because of us, and not because of those kids in America, but because of you. Because you, again, were the light for this community, and you can lead this community. And boy, he lit up and smiled. And what I want you to understand is, when you get the opportunity to run into these kids that just a minute, and you get to inspire and encourage, whether it's your child and you're going out to the table and say, hey, let's take a minute and go by the table. Let's take a minute and go through the virtual reality tour. Let's take a minute and go pet a cow at the Simple Church. How awesome is that, right? Why? So that you can remind them, this is how we can impact the world. This is how we can change the world. Because when you do, it really does impact not only their life, it changes your life, and it's changed my life. And this is the last statement that I have for men. Wes says this, you know, to be compassionate, it costs you something. This is one of my quotes, and we'll put it, one of his quotes. I wish I said it, one of his quotes. To be compassionate in this hurting world means it will cost you something. The truth is, Wes, it will cost them something. It costs you a little bit of money a month, but more important than that, it's going to cost you the time to go by there today. Oh, we got to go eat. We got to go do this. Don't rush through and miss the God-appointed divine moment for you, for your family, for, again, some family in another part of this world. And specifically, it's Honduras for us. And we want you to be able to meet your child. And this is what Wes comes, this is why he gives his time. And this is why I want you to do me the favor and be courteous enough to say, you know what, I'll pray through that. Even if I don't do it, God, I'll pray through that because I want to use what I have to benefit and help impact somebody else. That's your heart anyway. I know that, but I want Wes and Compassion to be able to figure that out and see that as well. Will you do that for me? Let me hear you one time. Come on, y'all. Sound like about 10 of you, all right? The rest of you pray through it, all right? But here's why I want
Don't
to be.
you love this guy?
He tries, yeah. Come on, he tries. They're working on it, right? Here's why I want to do this before we get out of here. I'm going to pray for Wes, and then he's going to go out there. He's going to have this book available. If you sponsor today, he'll sign it, talk to you a little bit. It's the last service, so he's got a little bit more time. But I don't want you to get up and rush out of here. I want you to listen to this last song we're about to do because I just want you to think twice about what you've heard today.